important central bank now comes with grand jury subpoenas. This is an update from our last video that we made on this, by the way. And I just want to say welcome to America in 2026, where the Federal Reserve Chair is getting threatened with criminal indictment. Yes, criminal indictment, and somehow this is being sold as quote unquote totally normal. Nothing about this seems normal, my friend, because nothing says healthy democracy like the White House flirting with prosecuting the guy who controls the interest rates. Yes, Jerome Powell, the man who decides whether your mortgage is survivable or a death sentence, just told the world that the Department of Justice served the Fed with grand jury subpoenas. And Powell didn't mince words. He said this isn't about renovations, it's about pressure, political pressure, the kind that says cut rates or else. And that, folks, is where things get dangerous. Now, why isn't this just Powell's drama? Well, let's be very clear about one thing. This is not a personality conflict. This is not a construction audit. This is not about elevators, water features, or marble countertops at the Fed. This is about whether the Federal Reserve is still independent or whether it's just another agency waiting for instructions from the Oval Office. Because once politicians can threaten criminal charges over monetary policy decisions, pop the confetti, because congratulations, you don't have a central bank anymore. You have a rate cut suggestion box with armed guards. Markets understand this instinctively. That's why the dollar dropped, gold ripped, and treasuries rallied the second Powell went public. Markets don't care about press conferences. They care about rules breaking. So how did we get here exactly? You're probably asking yourself, well, how the hell did we end up in this situation? I just figured the guy took too many, maybe like melatonins before he went up and gave a speech. Well, the feud didn't start yesterday. I can tell you that much. President Donald Trump has spent years attacking Powell for not cutting rates fast enough. Trump wants cheap money, always has and always will. Powell, well, he wants inflation credibility, because once you lose it, you don't get it back. It's not like your it's pretty much like your virginity. Once you take that thing and play with it, there's no coming back from that point, okay? Now, the Fed held rates steady most of 2025. Then they cut 3 times, bringing rates to 3.5 to 3.75%. For any other president, that would be enough. But Trump doesn't want enough. He wants obedient. And when obedience doesn't come, well, the pressure campaign began to escalate. So here's a new character, by the way. This man at one point was pumping crypto coins and building some of the worst pre-built houses in the game. Let's insert Bill Pulte. According to Bloomberg, Bill Pulte, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, was a key instigator behind the push to subpoena the Fed. Yes, the housing regulator. You heard that correct. That doesn't sound like a conflict of interest. The same guy who has openly criticized the Fed, filed criminal referrals against Fed officials, and just happened to be traveling with Trump to the Mar-a-Lago as this detonated. That's cute. That's not a coincidence. That's choreography. That is a well-timed dance. That's doing the bachata with your sweetheart, okay? And suddenly this stops looking like DOJ independence and starts looking like institutional pressure laundering. Get it? Like, instead of money laundering, it's like institutional pressure laundering. Okay, anyways. Now, why do bonds care more than stocks? Well, here's where retail investors miss the plot of this story. Stocks, they're going to go ahead and wobble like they got their sea legs on the headlines, right? But the bond price regimes, the real panic isn't in equities, it's in the bond market, because treasuries are supposed to be apolitical, stable, and credible. Once investors think the Fed can be intimidated or prosecuted, well, they're going to demand higher yields, shorter maturities, or they'll just leave altogether. That's how you get a weaker dollar, higher longer term borrowing costs, and inflation that doesn't care how many times you cut rates. This is how emerging markets break, not developed ones. That's why Trump allies are reportedly worried about the bond market, because once confidence cracks, it doesn't politely repair itself. Yeah, sorry. Now, let's talk about the crime here. What crime was actually committed? Well, the accusation hinges on Powell's June Senate testimony about Fed headquarters renovations. Powell said media reports were exaggerated. Trump allies said the project was ostentatious. I'm pretty sure they didn't say that because I don't think anyone in Trump's cabinet even knows what that word means, let alone has a vocabulary big enough to use that in a sentence correctly. The DOJ, though, showed up with subpoenas regardless. Powell's response was brutal and accurate. He said the renovation angle is pretext. Translation, my guy, you're not fooling anyone. This is because I'm not cutting rates fast enough for you. And here's the thing. Even if the DOJ could, keyword could, make a case, the timing alone detonates credibility because prosecuting a Fed chair while demanding rate cuts sends one message and one message only. Monetary policy is now negotiable under threat. That's the red line, baby. Now, this move didn't just upset Democrats. Republican Senator Tom Tillis said he will block all Fed nominations until this is resolved. That's a huge deal. Huge deal, okay? Because Trump still needs Senate confirmation to install his next Fed chair. And now, well, the GOP unity is fractured. Confirmation timelines are at risk, and Powell might stay on as governor until 2028, meaning this pressure campaign may actually prolong Powell's influence. That's not strategy, that's cell phone. Yeah, babe. Maybe you guys should read a news article every once in a while, you losers. Anyways, this is what markets are watching next. So what should you care about moving forward? Well, I'll tell you, okay? Treasury auctions, watch the demand. DXY, sustained weakness matters. Gold, this isn't a fear trade, it's a credibility hedge. Fed rhetoric. Do other governors rally around Powell, or do they leave him in the dust like the old man he is? We're going to see. And Trump's Fed pick. Is this going to be credibility or a loyalist like Mr. Stephen Moran, who's a moron. But, moron, I don't know. Put 2 and 2 together and that equals 4. You know what I mean? Now, if Trump nominates someone without market credibility, rates go up, not down. And I'm talking immediately because credibility is the Fed's only real asset at this point. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to address. You know, kind of like when your fat aunt needs to lose weight, but nobody's willing to say it. Kind of like Audrey Crooks or whatever that girl's name is from Iowa State. And, the elephant is in the room, but no one's willing to address it. You don't have to like Jerome Powell. You don't have to like high rates. You don't even have to like the Fed. But once politicians can threaten prosecution to influence interest rates, the market doesn't belong to voters anymore. It belongs to fear. And fear is very expensive, more expensive than those happy endings that you're getting at Coca-Cola Good Time America Massage, okay? So this isn't Powell versus Trump. This isn't DOJ versus Fed. This is rules versus power. And markets, well, markets will always vote last. Anyways, my name's Max Pitts. This is a developing story. This is in Trades and Gains powered by Investor Central Club, the best option software on the market. Go ahead and use that code to get updated or get live flow options data like you see over here. Yeah, this is Investor Central Club, by the way. Use Stacks Apex 20 for 20% off your first month. And I will see you guys as this story develops. And maybe I'll see you a little later if I decide to make another video. Anyways, hope you're all having a great day. Like, subscribe, comment, put your hottest take in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.